They say love is supposed to set you free. But for me, love became just another cage I built for myself, carefully, deliberately, and with all the tenderness I could muster. When I first met her, everything felt light, effortless. She laughed like the world hadn't tried to break her yet. She listened like my words mattered. And when she smiled, I could feel my chest expand in a way I hadn't felt in years. Like I could finally breathe. But even then, even on our first date, I looked at the clock. It was 11:11 p.m. And without thinking, I whispered under my breath, "I love you." She didn't hear me. She wasn't supposed to. You see, for me, 11:11 isn't a wish. It's a requirement. Every day, twice a day, I had to say, "I love you" at exactly that time. Once in the morning, once at night. If I didn't, something terrible would happen. That was the rule. And OCD doesn't negotiate. I didn't tell her at first. Not because I didn't trust her, but because I didn't want her to see that part of me. The part that rearranged coffee mugs until they felt safe. The part that made me check the stove 3 times after I'd already left the apartment. The part that believed love had to be timed, or else it wasn't real. Instead, I made the ritual look like romance. I'd text her, "I love you," at 11:11 a.m. with a heart emoji. She thought it was cute. Said it gave her butterflies. It wasn't butterflies. It was panic relief. The truth is, I didn't text her because I wanted to. I texted her because if I didn't, my brain would scream at me for hours. It would show me images of her in a car accident. Alone. Bleeding. It would whisper, "You could have stopped this. You didn't say it. You failed her." So I never missed it. Not once. And slowly, the ritual grew roots. I started setting 2 alarms, just in case I forgot. I stopped going into tunnels or basements around 11 o'clock. Bad signal could be fatal. I paused meetings. I excused myself from dinner parties. I once left a movie theater mid-scene just to send the text. And every time she replied, "Ah, I love you too," I felt momentarily safe. She didn't know that love, for me, wasn't spontaneous. It was calculated, tethered to a number on a clock. And she had no idea that every "I love you" wasn't just affection. It was me begging the universe not to take her away. For a while, it worked. She thought I was sweet. I thought I was surviving. We were both wrong. One night, we were lying on her couch watching a dumb sitcom. She fell asleep on my shoulder. It was peaceful, one of those rare moments where my thoughts were quiet. And then I saw the time, 11:10 p.m. I jolted. Not enough to wake her, but enough to ruin the calm. I grabbed my phone and typed, "I love you," sent it. But no reply. 11:11 came and went. No heart emoji. No me too. Just silence. And that silence didn't feel like love. Felt like doom. I stared at her sleeping, my chest tight, my mind racing. Had I ruined it? Was this it? Was this the moment the universe would strike because she didn't say it back? I spent the rest of the night pretending to be okay. Smiling, laughing, holding her hand. But inside, I was falling apart. I wanted to tell her. I wanted to explain why I acted weird. But how do you tell someone, "Hey, if you don't reply to my texts at an exact time, I believe you'll die and it'll be my fault"? You don't. You just keep smiling. You keep setting alarms. You keep saying, "I love you," when the clock demands it, not when your heart does. And that's how it starts. Not with yelling. Not with cheating. Not with betrayal. But with a single text sent at 11:11. And a silence that broke everything. People think OCD is just about being clean, about lining up pencils or organizing sock drawers. But that's not my OCD. Mine is about rules. Unspoken, invisible laws that feel as real as gravity. Rules like, say "I love you" at 11:11. Tap your phone 3 times before hitting send. If you picture her dying, you have to blink twice and whisper, "Not today," or it'll happen. It sounds irrational. Because it is. But it didn't feel that way to me. After that night she didn't reply, I tightened the rituals. I started checking my phone 5 minutes before 11:11. Just in case the clock was fast. I downloaded atomic time apps. I turned off auto updates so no surprise reboot would ruin the pattern. I added new rules, backup messages, double confirmations. A second text, just thinking of you, sent at 11:12, in case the first one didn't count. I told myself, this is love. This is how I protect her. But deep down, I wasn't protecting her. I was protecting my fear. The relationship kept going, but something was changing. She started asking why I always pulled away at the same time each day. Why I looked nervous when we had brunch near noon. Why I didn't want to go hiking or camping. Too many dead zones. I gave her excuses. Work messages. A family emergency. Just feeling off. And she believed me, because she trusted me. And that trust? It became another rule. Don't tell her the truth. She'll leave. And if she leaves, something bad will happen. It was never ending. A mental to-do list I couldn't ignore. When we planned a weekend getaway, I panicked. The cabin had no Wi-Fi, no cell service, which meant no 11:11 messages. I tried to talk her out of it, made up reasons, said I wasn't feeling well. She saw through it. She got quiet, and finally asked, "Do you not want to spend time with me? Or is there something you're not telling me?" I froze. The rules didn't say what to do in that situation. Eventually, I agreed to go, telling myself I'd find a way. I downloaded offline clocks, pre-wrote messages in my notes app, but none of it helped. At 11:11 p.m. in the middle of the woods, my phone sat powerless. I sat alone on the porch while she slept inside, and all I could think was, she's going to die in her sleep, and it'll be my fault. I counted to 60, once, then again, then a third time just to be sure. Still alive, still breathing, but my brain didn't believe it. The next morning I was distant, tired, paranoid. She noticed. Of course she did. She made coffee, smiled, and said, "You've been acting strange lately, like, you're always somewhere else." I smiled back, lied again. "I'm just tired." That was another rule. Don't talk about it. Because if I did, the whole thing would unravel. And yet, part of me wanted to tell her everything. To explain the alarms, the texts, the fear. But OCD doesn't just create rules. It creates shame. A quiet, gnawing voice that says, if she knew the truth, she'd never look at you the same way again. And maybe it was right. By now, the relationship was still intact, but barely. It wasn't about love anymore. It was about maintenance, keeping the rituals going, keeping the fears at bay. She still laughed at my jokes, still held my hand, still kissed me goodnight. But every time she smiled, I wondered, would she still smile if she knew how broken I was? Every time she said, "I love you," I thought, did I earn that today? Did I follow the rules? Or did I mess it up again? Couldn't relax. Couldn't enjoy the simplicity of being loved, because the rules were louder than her voice, stricter than her touch. And the worst part? They were starting to define the relationship more than she did. Love didn't feel like a connection anymore, felt like a checklist, and I was failing it. Love was supposed to be soft, a warm place to land, but somewhere along the way mine started to feel sharp, like walking barefoot through a house full of broken glass. I didn't notice the shift at first. It crept in like mold behind the wallpaper, silent, invisible, until it was everywhere. She started pulling away, not in a dramatic, storming out kind of way, but in the small, quiet ways people do when they're not sure if they're still safe. She took longer to reply to texts, stopped asking what I was thinking, stopped laughing at the things that used to make her light up. And me? I didn't ask why, because I already knew. She was tired. Tired of my rules. Tired of the way I disappeared at the same times every day. Tired of watching me check my phone like it was a bomb about to go off. There was one night I'll never forget. We were out to dinner for her birthday. Candlelight, music, the kind of place that makes you forget the rest of the world exists. She looked beautiful like she always did, but more than that, she looked hopeful. And for once, I let myself relax. I put my phone away, told myself, don't ruin this, just be present. So I was, for the appetizers, for the drinks, for the way her eyes sparkled when she talked about a new idea at work. But then, I glanced at the clock behind her. 11:09 p.m. My chest tightened. My brain screamed, "You're going to miss it." I smiled and nodded through her story, pretended to be listening. But I wasn't. I was counting down seconds. At 11:11 I excused myself, said I had to use the restroom, rushed into the hallway and pulled out my phone. "I love you." Send. Breathe. But the Wi-Fi was weak. No bars. The message stalled. Sending, binning, then failed. Panicked. Tried again. And again. And then I heard her voice behind me. "What are you doing?" I turned around, and she was standing there, holding her purse, looking small and tired. Not angry, just done. I tried to explain. "But what do you say?" "I think you might die if I don't press this button at the right second." So I lied. Again. Said it was a work thing. An emergency. She didn't argue. She didn't yell. She just nodded and walked past me. And that silence, that wordless exit, it hurt more than screaming ever could. When we got home, she asked me to sit down. She said she loved me, but she felt like she was dating a ghost. Someone who was always there, but never really present. Someone who loved her, but only through the lens of fear. And then she asked the question I'd been dreading. "What are you so afraid of?" I couldn't answer. Not really, because the fear didn't make sense. It wasn't rational. It wasn't something you could logic your way out of. It just was. Loud, heavy, constant. I told her about the 11:11 texts, about the rules, about the panic, about the voice in my head that told me bad things would happen if I didn't obey. And to her credit, she didn't laugh. She didn't call me crazy. She held my hand. But the pain in her eyes said everything. She whispered, "I don't know how to love you through this. I don't know how to be enough when you're fighting something I can't see." And then she said she needed space. Time to think. She packed an overnight bag, kissed my forehead, and walked out the door. That night, I sat alone in the dark. No phone, no alarms, no 11:11 ritual, just silence. And for the first time, I didn't feel safe. Not because she was gone, but because the fear was still there, and now there was nothing left to hide it behind. I had used love as a shield, a ritual, a spell to keep the worst from happening. But now the worst had happened. She was gone, and I was still me, still broken, still afraid, still following rules I didn't understand, but couldn't stop. She said she just needed space, a night or two to think, to breathe. I told myself it wasn't the end. People take breaks. People cool off. People come back. So I waited. I cleaned the apartment 3 times. Put her favorite sweater back on the chair where she left it. Lit the candle she liked, lavender and cedarwood. Made the bed perfectly, like she'd want to come home to something peaceful. But underneath it all, I kept checking the time. Still did the 11:11 ritual. Still sent the text. Even though her phone was off. Even though no one was reading it. Days passed. Then a week. Then 2. She didn't block me, but she stopped replying. No little scene checkmarks. No typing bubbles. Just silence. I told myself it was okay. Maybe she was busy. Maybe she was figuring things out. Maybe she was just afraid like I was. But the truth? I knew. Deep down I knew. She was gone. Still, I didn't stop the rituals. Not even once. 11:11 a.m. and p.m. Every day like clockwork. Because part of me believed that if I missed it, something would happen to her. Even if we weren't together. Even if she didn't love me anymore. The rules didn't care about breakups. They only cared about obedience. One night, about a month later, I saw her. Not in person. In a photo. A mutual friend posted a picture on Instagram. She was smiling, laughing even, at some rooftop party. Hair tied back in that lazy bun she used to do when she was happiest. There was a guy next to her, arm casually resting on her chair. Not touching her, but close enough. They looked real. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. Zoomed in like that would change something. Like maybe I could read her mind through pixels. But all I saw was what I already feared. She had moved on. That night, I didn't send the text. I watched the clock hit 11:11, and I did nothing. No message. No ritual. No whispered phrases. Just silence. At first, I felt powerful. Like I had finally won. Finally taken my mind back. But then, something strange happened. Couldn't breathe. My chest tightened. My fingers went numb. My brain flooded me with images. Her falling downstairs. Her in a hospital bed. Her calling my name and me not being there. I curled up on the bathroom floor, shaking, trying to blink it away, trying to undo the damage I'd just caused by not doing anything. Because in my mind, silence wasn't freedom. It was a trigger. I realized then, she wasn't the one I had failed. I had failed myself. Not because I drove her away, but because I let a disorder become my compass. I stopped living for joy, stopped loving for real. I was loving through a filter of fear. And the worst part? I didn't even know when it started. A few days later, she texted me. Just one line. I hope you're okay. I stared at it for hours. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because I did. I wanted to say, I'm sorry. I'm better now. I'm still in love with you. I'll do anything. But I didn't. Because for the first time I knew she wasn't asking to come back. She was saying goodbye the gentle way. And maybe, just maybe, she was hoping I had found peace. I never texted back. Not because I didn't care, but because I cared too much to keep pulling her into the storm with me. She didn't deserve to be a lifeboat. She deserved calm seas. After that, I stopped setting alarms. Uninstalled the atomic clock apps. Turned off the I love you reminders. I still thought about her every day, but I let the silence mean something else now. Not danger. Not death. Just distance. The kind that comes with healing. The kind you don't chase. I didn't lose her in one moment. It wasn't a dramatic ending. It was a slow unraveling. 1,000 tiny cracks I kept trying to glue together with rituals and fear. But love doesn't grow in fear. It wilts. Quietly. Until one day it's just gone. Time passed. Not quickly. Not cleanly. But it passed. There were no grand breakthroughs. No tearful reunions. No miraculous recoveries. Just quiet. At first it felt like failure. Like I had wasted something sacred. Like I had broken a gift I wasn't worthy of in the first place. But grief has its own kind of rhythm. And over time mine began to soften. Not because I stopped loving her, but because I finally started listening to myself. I used to think healing meant getting back to who I was before. Before the rituals. Before the panic. Before I needed everything to feel just right. But I'm learning that healing isn't about going back. It's about going forward differently. Slowly. Deliberately. And without shame. I started therapy. Not the kind I went to just to say I'd tried. Real therapy. The kind that made me sit in the discomfort. Made me name the fear instead of run from it. For the first time I admitted the full truth out loud. That I didn't just fear bad things happening. I feared that I would be responsible for them. That if I didn't follow my rules, someone I loved would suffer. And that made every failure, every skipped text, every missed 11:11 feel like violence. But here's what I've learned since. That's not love. That's fear wearing love's clothes. Real love isn't about control. It isn't a schedule. It isn't an equation you solve. It's messy, unpredictable, human. And the truth is, if I had loved her freely, without rituals, without fear, she might still be here. Or maybe not. But at least I wouldn't have lost myself trying to hold her in place. I've stopped sending the 11:11 texts. I still notice the time. Old habits don't die quietly. But now, when I see it, I just breathe. One breath in, one breath out, and I say nothing. Because silence is not a curse. It's a choice. Some days, I still hear the voice in my head. The one that tells me I'm failing. That I've ruined everything. That I'll never deserve real love again. But now I answer back. Softly. Firmly. Not today. I don't know if I'll ever see her again. And I've made peace with that. Because what we had, even if it didn't last, was real. She loved me, even when I couldn't fully love myself. And that kind of love, it doesn't just disappear. It becomes part of you, not something to chase, but something to honor. If I ever love someone again, I hope I do it without rules, without countdowns, without alarms screaming at me that something terrible is coming. I want to say, I love you, not because the clock tells me to, but because my heart does. I want to sit across from someone at dinner and not count the seconds, not rehearse excuses, just be there, fully, quietly, completely, and maybe, just maybe, I won't have to protect them with rituals. Maybe this time, I'll protect them by being honest, by letting them see the parts of me that are still healing. Because love isn't about hiding the cracks. It's about saying, this is where I've been broken, and this is how I'm still standing. Some nights I still think of her. I wonder if she found someone who doesn't set alarms. Someone who doesn't flinch at the sound of time passing. Someone who just lives. I hope she did. She deserves that. And as for me, I'm learning, slowly, deliberately, to love without fear, to let go without punishment, to live without rules that only existed to keep the pain at bay. And maybe one day, I'll fall in love again, not at 11:11, but at the right time, whenever that is.